Here are two Westinghouse 1964 clock radios. There's a more full-featured one here, and there's kind of a cheaper model here. This is exactly the same one that I bought, about 25 years ago. I bought it like in 1984 or so. The chassis is still at my parents' attic, but I think I threw the cabinet out. But you know, you always get such a good feeling when you find some piece of equipment that you gotten in your childhood many years ago, and that back then you might have just torn apart and threw out, but then when you get to be an adult you can really appreciate it more. This has got a sleep timer and the alarm settings. I even remember this from back when I was a kid, this position that said holiday for no alarm. Here's the tuning dial and the volume control. Back here is just your standard circuit board with tubes, and they're all Westinghouse made tubes. If you notice this pattern of how there are dots above and below the tube number, like the 35W4, that's usually only done by Westinghouse, and the way that the text above it says made in USA. You notice on the 50C5 there's those dots as well. I think Tungsol might have used the dots too, but I can just recognize this pattern that Westinghouse uses. Date code is 6430. And it's got a neon lamp on the clock. Here's another date stamp. It's rare to find an actual date on these things. May 20th, 1964. Speaker date code of 6419, and date code of 6408 on the output transformer. It's got one of these awful cardboard capacitors, so of course this thing is not going to work until those caps are replaced, but since everything else is ceramic caps, it'll be an easy repair job. Let's take a look at the other Westinghouse here. This just has on, off, and alarm functions. Doesn't have a sleep timer. There's a tuning dial. Volume control. The chassis is exactly the same. And let's see, let's see if I can see a date code on these tubes. 6408, 6409 it looks like. This has the cardboard capacitor mounted right on the circuit board. The other one, due to the way the clock was positioned, had to mount it remotely. Just put a couple of new electrolytics in these, and these will be good to go again. Now look at these backs. I don't know why Westinghouse chose to do this, but see how little ventilation there is on there? And you know how hot tubes get. There's a lot of heat that gets produced in that cabinet, so everything in there just gets cooked. I might end up just drilling some extra holes in these backs eventually, because I don't think that's enough ventilation for all the heat that's produced by tubes. So I'll make another video in a little bit once I get some new caps in these. And you know, the price on these had not gone up. I think I got this one for $1 or maybe $2, and I got this one for $2.50. And I think back in 1983 or 84 or so, when I was a kid, I bought it probably for $1. That's kind of amazing. It's amazing that I still found these. I haven't found radios like this in a long time, so I just really lucked out. Got one more thing to show on these. Here's the model number. This one is H912L5. This one is H932L5. These are just the directions for removing the back from the cabinet.